you always have that stereotype of people like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna work out in the next year," and then they're gonna go to the gym for like a month.
Yeah.
And then like
Or the 2nd of January.
I've seen it. Like the first month of the year, the gym is packed full with people.
Yeah.
And then after a month, everybody's slacking again.
Yeah.
And
So what we could talk about today is when is it successful and when is it not going to happen?
yeah, and what is a successful reaching a New Year's resolution successfully or a goal? "2023.
2023.
We're here. I hope
Yep.
everybody had a nice New Year. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, Happy
And,
New Year.
Welcome to the first Unlimited Potential podcast episode of 2023.
Definitely.
My name is Rowen,
My name is Gerard.
and we're happy to be back. I figure that maybe it would be smart that even though this is like the third episode that we do, it's still good to say our names at the beginning of episodes.
Yeah.
Because we forget to do that sometimes. It's all still relatively new to us, but I've seen a lot of other people do that. It's good to have like a little refresher, be like, "Hey, my name's Rowan.
Yeah.
It's Gerard." And it's nice to see everybody that's listening, that's still listening. It's nice to have everybody back. I think today we have a wonderful subject that we're going to be talking about as well. Maybe a little bit of a cheesy subject to do at this time of year, right?
Yeah.
But what better thing to talk about than talk about the goals that you have, your
Intentions.
your New Year's. It has what's the English name again? Your New Year resolutions.
Resolution.
That's it. Your New Year's resolutions. It's a good topic to talk about. Combine it a little bit with setting goals. I think personally, setting goals, your yearly goals, and New Year's resolutions are slightly different. They're not exactly the same thing.
No.
And especially, you talked about it earlier. What was like a very specific thing that you wanted to talk about today as well?
Yeah, no. When you think about new things to achieve in the upcoming year, you think about them because most of the time something didn't happen in the last year. Oh no! Oh yeah. I'm looking back to the last year and thinking stuff that didn't go well or I didn't achieve.
Yeah.
So then you think for the upcoming year, you think, oh, now I'm going to I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you decide or you think you decided to set a goal, losing weight or being a better entrepreneur or making more podcasts or etc. etc. And we know from the past years that a lot of these things you get into your mind in the beginning of the year,
You're super motivated.
Super motivated in the beginning, but you just don't do it.
Or well, some people do it. I mean, you always have that stereotype of people like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna work out in the next year," and then they're gonna go to the gym for like a month.
Yeah.
And then like
Or the 2nd of January.
I've seen it. Like the first month of the year, the gym is packed full with people.
Yeah.
And then after a month, everybody stops coming again, and everybody's slacking again.
Yeah.
And
so what we could talk about today is when is it successful and when is it not going to happen?
Yeah, and what is a successful reaching a New Year's resolution successfully or a goal? I think it's for everybody. It's also different. For example, for me, I don't like to set New Year's resolutions myself. I make yearly goals every year. I do that, but I try to stay away from New Year's resolutions because I guess it's also kind of depending on what kind of New Year's resolution. But if it's something like I want to go to the gym, I want to start working out more. I feel like, and I talked to my girlfriend about this last week as well, and we share the exact same thought, and that's super funny. But I feel like it's stupid to leave that for the end of the year. A lot of the New Year's resolutions, like, I want to start working out, I want to start eating healthier. No, just do it now, because otherwise you're going to have, if you make that resolution, for example, at the beginning of December, you're going to then use it as an excuse to not do it throughout the entirety of December because you're like, no, we're going to do it next year. Like, no, just if you want to change it, do it now. But goals are a little bit different for me.
But most people who do not succeed in reaching the goals they set, it doesn't matter if they set the goals in January or in December or in June.
Yeah.
They just don't have the structure and the method
but
to
also,
reach these goals, to
and
really achieve what they want to achieve.
A little bit of like anxiety or just being scared of not reaching the goal. I know a lot of people that have talked to someone last week about that. Was someone that has actually set a goal that was that had something to do with trauma they had from their life. They want to fix that trauma. Okay. But obviously it's a very heavy thing to do. And they told me as well, they said they really have to push past a big blockage of anxiety to start doing what they wanted to start doing.
Okay.
But they're very afraid that they won't succeed and where they will end up if they don't succeed in this. They feel like maybe their trauma, for example, gets even worse because they tried and they failed. So it becomes a very, very big step for them. And it feels like there's a lot on the line there to start working on a certain goal or resolution. So it has a lot of different sides, I think. It's not only like knowing how to set a resolution or a goal helps, but obviously there's a lot of different reasons why someone has trouble with completing their goals or their resolutions.
Yeah. Most of the time you are being held back by something.
Yeah.
And we know also from the other podcasts that very often it is a limiting belief.
A limiting belief and that that age-old thing that everybody tells themselves that familiarities, if you're in a familiar place, it's safe. When you're secure, when you know what's going to happen, you know where you are, and obviously a place where you don't have to face new challenges or step outside of your comfort zone and really develop something. If you don't do it, you stay in that like little safe space.
In the same space.
Same but safe. It isn't safe. You think it's safe because you know it. You have insight in it. It's not like it's safer than the other space. You don't know it.
Yeah, it's a very thin line between not being able to reach a goal and just not using the right method to reach a goal. So you can be held back by trauma. You can be held back by fear of not setting the goal, or even when you set the goal, then you think, okay, I'm really passionate about this and that, and I want to set this goal. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
This year. I'm really going to do it.
2023 is going to be my year.
It's going to be my year. I'm going to reach, and etc., etc. And then you are already past the first step some people find difficult to take. It is setting the goal. Mm-hmm. So obviously there are...
How you set it? Like what are
just having the guts to set the goal.
Just taking the step of doing it.
Just taking the first step to set the goal. And you will never reach a goal if you don't first...
Take the first step.
Set a goal.
It's kind of like move before you're ready, you know? And you're probably not in the state yet where you're already going to be able to complete the goal, but at least take the first step.
Exactly.
Just start. Nobody knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, but no, wait. Starting is after setting the goal.
Yeah.
So it's already the second step. So, and a lot of people have difficulties in just setting the goal or thinking about something that's really for them.
A couple of very stereotypical limiting beliefs can be, I'm probably not going to reach it anyway. I don't even know where to start.
Why bother?
I don't know where to start.
No.
And they're like, I might as well not start because I don't know where to start.
And I've done it a couple of times before and I just didn't succeed. So no way I'm going to reach that goal this year.
I have so many goals. How can I pick one? That's also, I have so many things that I want to do, but how can I don't know where to start. I don't know what to pick.
Exactly.
And as one of the other mindset people that we obviously listen to a lot they always say just, and this is I swear to God, just one of the best advices there is, just pick one. Because having 100 ideas and is nothing different from having no ideas if you don't pick one.
Exactly.
Just pick one, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It does work out. It's always better than not picking anything. So you might as well just pick one, even if it's random. If you really like all the ideas equally, just throw it in a random generator and make a computer randomly pick one and do it. Just do something.
Yeah, obviously the pile of goals should be all including that you really want to reach these goals when you put them in the so there are obviously two steps and I think three. So you pick one that you really feel passionate about by preference. Then you go into step 2 where you go and work on that goal, have a plan on how to reach the goal. And then the third step is, when are you satisfied? So very often
when
the goal...
did you reach the goal?
When did you reach the goal? And there you need to define when to stop here and move to the other one, to the next one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you will never be satisfied.
Yeah.
Most of the people, when they go and reach a goal, they visualize a big goal, a very BHAG, like a big audacious goal.
And you got to know also what, I mean, I'm going to call it like this, but correct me if you have a better terminology for this, because you obviously have a lot of experience with it. But you also have different category goals, I like to call it. Because you also have, I feel there's also definitely goals where you don't even necessarily have to reach the goal. As the goal is more like making progress in that case than actually hitting the goal. Like, for example, let me think of a good example. Like in my case, right? I do a lot of content creation. I want to make, because I think that's a good rule to have, I want to make goals that are specific. Like, do this.
Okay.
Not make it like, try to do in the...
do.
So, for example, I want to branch out. Try and make new kinds of videos, new category kind of videos. So I just tied a number to it, and I said, okay, this year I'm going to do 6 or 3, I think I said 3 new series on my YouTube channel. I'm going to start doing 3 new series. But that doesn't mean if I reach 4 or if I reach 2 that the goal is not, or maybe is completed. Because in this case, the main goal behind this goal is branching out and exploring new territory and finding new things. So I could still have done 2 new series at the end of the year and feel like I've definitely gone out of my comfort zone, explored new things and found new things to do. While some other goals that you can set are actually very much about hitting certain numbers and actually hitting the set goal that is made in the beginning. Otherwise, it is indeed failed.
Yeah.
But when you look at people like I talked about before, people that are working on trauma, for example, making process is often already a very good goal to achieve.
Yeah, but still they need to define intermediate goals.
Yeah.
And that gives them the power to move on, to go to the next level.
Yeah, but isn't it like dangerous for them to then, because I feel like a lot of people then feel that they failed if they don't reach the predefined, like the goal that you define at the beginning. If you don't exactly reach that number, even though you made process, a lot of those people feel like they failed.
Yeah, but most people who are, for example, in my practice, they don't have a numbers defined goal. They just have a goal, for example, to be able to move in groups in a comfortable way, for example. And then the goal is pretty broad. For example, they have anxiety when they are within a group, and they find it difficult to mingle and find it difficult to be there in a group. So they very often stay at the back or the edges of a group, and etc. And then, for example, stepping into a room where there are a lot of people is already a victory for them.
It's process.
It's process. So when we go on that journey to become more comfortable in groups, for example, we set intermediate goals and we celebrate the intermediate goals. We're very conscious.
Yeah, and I mean, that's also something that a lot of people, well, not do wrong. I'm not going to say they do it wrong. Sometimes it's definitely a conscious decision, but 9 out of 10 times I definitely see, especially within companies, that a lot of goals are not properly celebrated. It's like, oh, we reached it. All right, time for the next one. Let's go. Yeah. And we continue.
Yeah, and when there is a high speed of development within a company, it's also very often difficult because every time again they go to the next step. You see it in the startup world where people trying to create a company around an idea, about an invention maybe even, and then they need to take it to the market. In the beginning, the smaller victories or the smaller steps that are successful are not being celebrated because they move too fast.
Yeah.
And they move without really conscious.
Even that is a limiting belief on its own. Thinking that you move too fast is also a limiting belief because in the end, if you celebrate it, say to celebrate you just with your team, you have a couple of people, 4 or 5 people, you just say we go out for drinks tonight.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're going to be working until 11 o'clock in the evening. You're still going to go home. You're still going to go to your family and sit on the couch. You have time for one drink with your coworkers.
You do.
So the fact that the company moves so fast and we have a new update to work on is definitely a limiting belief already. You kind of tell yourself like, we don't have time or space for that. You do. You can go out for one drink just to celebrate what you just accomplished.
Definitely.
We had it literally happen at the previous company that I worked. I remember the first project because for the listeners at home that don't know, I used to originally work in game art, the gaming industry.
Yeah.
And I remember we released our first game and we were also a new team. So it was actually the first game that our team released. And we wanted to continue on the next update, and we didn't even think about it. So like, let's just celebrate it. Let's go out. We have our first release. Yeah, should we be doing this for every release? I was like, yeah, why not? Why not just go out for dinner together on a Friday, have a drink afterwards? And we had so much fun in the end because we did it. We had so much fun, and we remembered that victory as well for a long time.
Yeah.
So in a way, it also created, it made that victory even stronger in our memory in retrospect. Like later on, we could easily think back about that victory because we had that celebration.
Yeah, we had the celebration together.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have just a challenge within yourself.
Yeah. Well, then I think it's time for a nice bubble bath.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, we laugh about it, but I think you are correct.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I laugh about it, but it is true. It is very much true to like treat yourself sometimes to just do something that makes you very happy, to like celebrate what you did. We have also had it. It doesn't even have to. I think in that case, it doesn't even have to be the really set goals. I think the set goals are good for it because it's measurable, so you can measure for yourself. Okay, now I have a victory.
Okay,
so I should treat myself to something now. But for example, at the end of our year, we worked hard for a long time, and I definitely at the end of the year, and that's also why that's probably a very nice moment to measure it, because at the end of the year, everybody kind of looks back and reflects. But I definitely also did that. I was like, I worked so hard for the last 3 months. I deserve a little something extra.
Yeah, like ease down.
Just maybe get yourself a little gift. Doesn't have to be expensive.
No.
You know, I collected playing cards for a long time because I like playing cards with new pieces of art. Some of those packs are $5 maybe. So it doesn't have to be like treat yourself to a new Rolex or something. No. You know, just I can be so happy with something that's only $4.
Yeah, it's like a reward for your for your effort, for your energy you put in. So what we could establish here together, maybe together with you, guys and girls, is that setting the goal is the first step to reaching it.
Yeah.
And it sounds very simple and easy. But how you set the goal, in what kind of context, but also with what kind of characteristics, is very important.
Yeah, so how do we set a goal? And for the people, maybe this is a fun exercise. We normally
is.
always give an exercise at the end of the podcast, but if you're currently already sitting, waiting, thinking, I want to do something with this, I want to give me something to work with. So what we can do, this might be fun. Right now, you can pause the podcast for a second and then listen after you're done with this. Already write down your New Year's resolutions or your goals, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but don't do more than 3, please.
No more than 3?
No more than 3.
Okay, no more than 3, sure. Then just write them like you want to write them right now. Just how you think you would normally write them. We're going to keep talking about how we set goals, how we make these resolutions. And then at the end, we want you to go back to those goals and reword them with the knowledge that you're gaining from the things that we're about to talk about.
That's a very good
And then
point.
you're going to look at it and you're going to see what you did different before and after. And if you would like to, we would love to see what happened. So either send us an email at support@unlimitedpotentialprogram.com. The email address is in the show notes. You can see it there. Or if you're on YouTube, you can find the email address in the description down below.
Or on YouTube, just put it in the comments.
Or in the comments. You can also put it in the comments on YouTube. Yeah.
That'll be cool.
So we would love to see what kind of changes you saw if you made your goals right now and your goals at the end of this conversation.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
So
this is after you paused and started
the
podcast
if
again.
If you didn't, this is your last chance to pause it right now.
Pause. Okay.
Here we go.
So goals. If you the way how you construct or how you define the goal it would be the same as how the outcome will be. So when the goal is being, made very vague, without any real clear metrics, for example, in it, then probably the outcome of all your effort to reach the goal will also be very fuzzy,
vague, and it will allow you to still morph it to your wishes later on. Definitely, you see it a lot. For example, with people that just say, kind of like the example you gave before, like from your practice, when people say, "I want to get more out of my comfort zone," and that's just the goal. That's it. At the end of the year, they look back. They can always say, like,
I do this?
"Well, I kind of did that. I kind of said that one thing to that person one time. I mean, that's kind of stepping out of, you know."
That vague. So that's the that's like advice 1, to make it concrete.
So what's an example of that?
Specific.
What's a good example?
For you take the example of out of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone. For example, if you want to make a goal of going out of your comfort zone, you say, for example, let me do something every day for the next 7 days, something that really scares me.
That I always wanted to do, but I was kind of afraid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
For that, but that's like for 1 week. You can also like do it, say, because we're talking about year goals as well.
Oh, yeah.
One every month.
Yeah,
or,
sure. Sure.
Whatever. At least make it very specific. 1 a month.
Yeah,
something I'm scared of.
And this is only one example of getting out of your comfort zone. So you need to define what is it
for the person that we talked about
before.
Zone. So you said the person in your practice, for example, said they have trouble socializing, stepping in the foreground,
feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
In larger groups. Yeah.
So yeah, the vague goal in that case would be, I just want to
Feel comfortable.
Feel comfortable. You're like, how are you going to do that? When are you comfortable? So what would be, for example, a specific goal for that?
Yeah.
A year goal.
Yeah. So a year goal for this specific situation, you would divide it in different sub goals, intermediate goals.
Yeah.
So if you stay at home, for example, you will never, ever
be more comfortable in big groups. Well,
never.
Or you need to have a very big house and just invite a lot of people over.
That could be one of the intermediate goals.
Could be.
So it would be like going out, just going out of the house, move around, go into the city center, go and sit somewhere where it is pretty crowded. You don't have to interact yet.
Yeah, so you would say like go sit at a crowded space or like a crowded restaurant or cafe X amount of times this year.
Yeah, and sitting is already can be pretty scary for these people. So in the beginning, maybe the first intermediate goal would be like just walking around, just walking through.
Yeah. You could do a lot of things, or maybe like one of the things you could also set is like for example, if you want to take like, this is one of the 10, say the 10 intermediate goals.
Exactly.
One could also be celebrate my birthday with at least X amount of people.
Exactly.
Do this with X amount of people.
Yes.
Go there.
And so you define a number of intermediate goals. One of the things that are very essential here is that when you have an intermediate goal, you need to have like closure. You need to have a specific moment, like before example in a month or a month and a half, when you define, okay, did I succeed? Did I go out of the house? Did I do sitting there or walking through a bunch of people? And one of the explicit advices a lot of people give here, and then this is also one thing I talk about with my clients. Talk about it after you think you reached your goal. Talk it through with friends. Talk it through with your partner, so that there is a kind of a small celebration of that you succeeded. You know. So here you make like a step, but every step, every intermediate goal you should be able to measure it if you were successful. There should be a metric in it to be successful.
Yeah, it needs to be measurable.
Exactly. So 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, I went out and did yes, okay. And then you feel like a fundament to take the next level, to take the next step. And one could be, in this specific case, not only just going through a crowd, just sitting down. Maybe the next one is talking with people without them talking to you first.
So you starting an X amount of conversations. I know a lot of people have trouble with that, especially also not even in public, but also online. So it's being the first person to send a message to someone.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have trouble with that. So that could also be a good goal. Like start conversations even through WhatsApp, if that's what you're having trouble with. I'm not talking about this specific one. But if you have trouble with that, a good goal would be the first one to open a conversation with a friend 10 times a month.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, Rowen, I think you know, and probably our listeners also, that in the beginning you don't succeed, maybe. You find it difficult.
Yeah.
And here I can assure you, every time again when you try, it becomes more easy. Every time again.
Like we say, well, in Dutch we say alles went. You can get used to everything is basically the translation. So you get used to everything. So even if you think it's scary right now the first time, after the 20th time you've done it, you got used to it.
Yeah, it's so cool because maybe most of you have I don't know if you read a book from Timothy Ferriss, the 4-hour work week.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable, interesting book. And one of the assignments myself got when I was reading that book and suggested to do that is to sit in a train, and at that moment of time I was traveling from Eindhoven to Utrecht almost every day, and I just opened the laptop pre-work before I went into the office, etc., etc. But now I needed to address or approach one person every time I was in the train. Always. And the other thing I needed to do in this assignment was what I felt if I didn't succeed or when I was hesitating to do it, so that I became aware of what was happening inside of me. Like, okay, what's happening here? Okay, why am I not? I set a goal. Talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody.
Doing it?
Why? Why am I not doing it? Why? What's the So
and seriously ask a question. So it's not like, why am I not doing this? And then continue to be frustrated. No, really, why?
Really? Yeah, why?
Really think why it is. Write a reason down or whatever. Really.
But after day 7, and this was, my dear listeners, for 1 month. So I was traveling 5 days, Monday to Friday, every day to Utrecht, back to Eindhoven. And in every travel, I needed to address one person, which I didn't know. So after 5-6 times, it became like
easier.
Almost a habit.
Of just almost saying hey, how are you doing?
How are you doing? And in the beginning, I thought, okay, maybe people find me weird or invasive.
But they also got used to it. After a week, they were like, there's that weirdo
there he is again. That guy who
there's
talks
the weirdo that already please don't pick me. Please don't pick me.
Don't pick me. And it's not that I needed to have a conversation of hours, but just ask a interesting question. Just be interested in a person. That was the exercise. And because I had a assignment to ask a question to a person, I became less hesitating to do that, because I wasn't really occupied with myself, but I was occupied with the other person. But I was looking at the person and asking the question, and I got so many nice reactions.
So cool. So it's such a cool exercise.
Yeah, it is super. And the moral of this example obviously is that if you try to do something that scares you or you find difficult, when you do it more often, it becomes more and more easy every time again. Yeah.
It's the same as teaching children to eat vegetables and stuff. The more they eat it, the less they're gonna struggle with it. Or at some point, it's gonna be easier and easier. And I want to I think you probably already wanted to talk about this too, but really also look into what you said before is writing down. Yeah. Because you said you also wrote down, right? When you did it, because it's a goal. Yeah. I think writing down is something that's super important as well, because it solidifies the goal itself. And if you keep it in your hand and you're like, I'll remember, you already treat it the way it's going to be treated. If you treat it the way it's gonna go that way if you treat it that way. So if you write it down, make it physical. Yeah, exactly. If you write it down, it becomes real. And there's no way out then anymore. You have written it down. It's now you can't run from it anymore now. Now there are several reasons why you should write down your goals. And I mean, write them down. Don't type by preference
obviously typing is also better than not writing it down at all.
I have them typed out, but I have it in a place where I
Yeah.
get confronted with it constantly.
Exactly. So one of the reasons why writing down with the pen and fingers is that your the muscles who control the pen and create the letters also make a connection with your brain.
Yeah.
You know,
It's kind
And
of the
then-
muscle memory thing that also, but also affects your brain.
Yeah,
of course.
it creates even more manifestation of the goal because you've written it down. One of the other cool things to do if you have a goal is to draw a small picture about it, because that's also something that creates the right hemisphere together with the left one.
Yeah.
Because left, rational thinking, writing down, etc., and picturing stuff, right half of your hemisphere, and then these two are combined, and then it becomes even more fast goal
Yeah.
for you. So that writing down, setting the goal, making it specific, measurable, acceptable for yourself, obviously, and time bound. And the good listeners under us, they recognize the SMART methodology.
Yep.
Please,
Smart goals.
making your goal smart. And there's a lot of resistance against making your goal smart, not necessary, you can just do it, etc., etc. But I argue that a lot of people who do not make their goals smart, they don't reach the goals because
Yeah.
they don't create a fundament to reach them.
Another good thing, I think, for making those goals, at least that's something that I prefer to do. I know, especially for marketing purposes, it's not always handy, but for personal goals, it definitely is set goals that are dependent on you and nothing else.
Oh, very good.
Because if you make goals that are dependent on the action of someone else, like, well, again, I can easily speak out of experience, of course. But in the field of work, when you're making YouTube videos and you're making TikToks, you can feel very tempted to say, reach an X amount of goals. And I think those are fun goals to set. But I think they're fun as, for example, public goals to do with your community together and stuff like that. But if you're looking at your personal goals, I make them as well. I have a list of goals that none of my followers see. It's a behind the scenes goal list for me, my year goals. And none of those have things on it like reach an X amount of followers, because then I'm dependent on someone else clicking the follow button. I only have things that I can physically do myself. Like last year, I had create my own merchandise. Something that's a physical thing that I can do.
Yeah.
And that's not dependent on anyone else.
Yeah, but how would you then set a goal, for example, for turnover in your company?
For turnover?
Yeah, like, okay, I want to make 50,000 euros making content.
Yeah. Well, then you analyze the steps that need to be taken, and those are your goals.
Exactly.
So you think like, okay, same with the followers, right? Because the followers can still be a goal, but it's not the goal that you set. So say the goal is next year I want to reach 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers. What are things you can do to reach those followers? And that can be your goal. So for example, if one thing could be organize, like I said before, branch out and make 6 new themed series on your channel, and you know that will help you get higher follower amounts because you're getting more creative and doing more stuff, then still that's the goal. Create 6 new series, not reach 1,000 followers. No, create 6 new series.
I think that this is a very important lesson here. So the goals that you set out to reach should be achievable by you, always.
Yeah.
And then when the other, consequences of these goals are more turnover or more clients or more viewers, then that is the case. obviously.
Yeah, it's for us the same, right? So for us, we don't set a goal of getting an X amount of listeners for our podcast. We set, for example, a goal to make a podcast every week. That's, for example, a goal that we set.
So your message is, so if you make a goal dependent on the action of somebody else,
Yeah.
that should be one of the criteria
To not do that.
to not do that.
Yes.
Okay.
You should not be dependent on the action of someone else to reach your goals.
Yeah. Why do you think is that?
Well, both because these are your goals. So you need to be in control of over your own goals, and it's important to stay in control. We've talked about that before because it's it also quickly brings you into that mind space that you're gonna blame other things as well. So when you don't succeed, you're gonna just push it off on something else. Well, that's the fault because nobody likes it, and it's their fault, and they didn't click on it, and they were stupid, and those people were. You're gonna blame it away, and that's gonna in what regard is it still your goal then? You know? One, it doesn't really it's a shared thing, I guess. You decided to be a shared thing all of a sudden.
Yeah. And in the first podcast we talked about the different levels of consciousness.
Keeps you in that first level of consciousness where you're constantly
keeps you in that first level of consciousness.
Yeah.
The blame mode, the to me mode. Like Peter says,
everything happens to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So the goals you set out, one of the criteria is that you can influence it yourself.
Yeah,
it's very important. So make it concrete, specific, smart, and second advice is to make the goal, to set only goals that you can have influence on yourself.
Yeah.
And by preference, the higher the percentage, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, strive for 100%, but if that's not possible, make it as high as possible.
Yeah. It should be not dependent on someone. The success should not be dependent on someone else.
No. And make it very personal.
Yeah. So what's the step after that? Because now people have written down their goals. You have defined your goals. What's next?
Yeah. One of the most difficult steps is to figure out what has held you back before in relationship to this goal. And here we come on the territory of the limiting beliefs. So for every goal, there is a specific reason why you didn't reach these goals in the past.
Yeah.
So, and this limiting belief or objection or anything else that held you back, you shouldn't discard that. So you should be really conscious about what was the reason. And before going into a action plan to reach these goals and specific small steps how to reach the goal, you should eliminate whatever has held you back in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's extremely important, and this is a very difficult step, and very often because you think in a specific column, so you have a specific way, like what we talked about, like the wheels in the sand. You walk a specific way in life, and very often you don't realize a path, and you very often don't realize that you have that limiting belief. Very often you need other people to talk to you about their observations and why they think you didn't reach these goals and what was holding you back in the past. So, and if you need help to eliminate these limiting beliefs, please search out for people, coaches, psychologists, or very good friends who can listen very well and have good advices to make you conscious about what held you back.
And really listen. it's very easy, especially with limiting beliefs. I think the most initial response of our body whenever we're confronted with something like that is to start defending ourselves. So whenever a friend of you tells you like, hey, why are you being so negative? Or why are you thinking about this way? We immediately tend to go like, I'm not negative. I'm not doing that. We talked about this before. Everything you do creates perception. There's a reason why your friend or your partner or the person you're talking to, there's a reason why they see it the way it is. And that's always valid. So the reason for them to say to you, hey, you're doing this, there is a reason why they're saying that. So please listen. Leave your opinion outside of the door for a sec. Just take it in. It's their opinion. And then you can analyze later, like, why did they think that? What could have created that interpretation for them? And what can we do with that?
Yeah, so you can't skip this step.
No.
After you've done that, made the goal specific, made it very personal, made it possible that you can influence the goal yourself.
Yep.
You write them down. That's the first step. Setting the goal. Second step is to look at limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts.
Find limitations, yeah.
Limitations you have, and maybe probably get you out of the blame mode yourself, the to-me mode. And then you are going to look at intermediate steps on how to reach these goals.
But didn't we already write those down by writing down the goals?
No, when you write down the goal, there are maybe some intermediate steps in that description. But when you look at your action plan, you need to write down for every intermediate
for every goal.
Yeah. For every intermediate goal, even the steps on how to reach that.
Yeah.
And for that, you need to brainstorm on all the possible options you have on how to do that.
Yeah. And I would say do that in your own way, right? So right now, I immediately notice, at least also in my own feeling, like it can, and I've always had that, it can feel very overwhelming to immediately start writing every little detail down.
Yeah.
But obviously you can do that in your own way. So you can also say like, hey, I'm first going to do that for the goal that I'm going to start with, and then I'm going to do it for the next goal, because you did already set all the goals. So now you can also just decide to, take writing down the steps goal by goal.
Yeah, and if
that's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with immediately writing everything down, do that. But you need to feel a little bit what your preference is as well.
Yeah, and the last step of this methodology is that you go and focus on one way forward. So you have your specific goals, you've made them small, you've made them accessible for yourself, you've written them down, then you've looked at your limiting beliefs, what held you back in the past, then you brainstormed on what the options are on how to reach these specific goals. But then there is a step which a lot of people just can't be disciplined enough about, and that is to focus on one way forward on one goal. So it's also one-on-one. So you have a specific intermediate goal. You have a specific reason why you haven't reached that goal in the past. You need to eliminate that before you go on to the next steps, where you think about the different solutions or the different options on how to reach that goal. But then
you need to focus.
Focus on one.
You can't. It's a perfect metaphor. It's a perfect metaphor. You can't, with football, or in America they call it soccer. You also can't score in 5 goals at the same time.
No.
You can't shoot a ball and 5 goals at the same time. Start with one, and then afterwards you're going to move on to the next one, and then you're going to move on to the next one. But try to not get distracted and just first finish a goal before you go to the next one.
Evaluate, finish it, be satisfied. Determine when you're satisfied. Be satisfied. move on to the next goal.
And you can obviously, just as a side note, you can do multiple things at the same time. Sometimes if there are, for example, smaller goals. For example, one of my goals also is I want to learn a new language. I'm learning a little bit of Swedish at the moment because I like that. But I do that through an app that just asks me to basically do that for 5 minutes every day. That doesn't mean that until I completely master the language by doing it 5 minutes every day, I should not do anything else in the meantime. Like, of course, there are things you can go and do at the same time, but that's all structured and planned. It's all I thought about it, and I know I can do it at the same time. It's all planned out, but I still make sure that, for example, the other things that I take with it will not block the process of the initial goal that I started of learning that language.
Yeah, but you probably are not going to take on Italian and Chinese.
No, that's a good one. Exactly. I want to learn. I first want to learn that one language.
Just one language. So stick to one category.
I know some people can learn multiple languages at the same time, but that's a lot of also, like we talked about, analyzing yourself and learning like what are my limiting beliefs. So I, for example, know I can't learn multiple languages at the same time because I forget. No. So I only take one.
Yeah, but most people of us can't.
Yeah.
Most people can't. So stick to one category.
Yeah.
So when you focus on reaching a goal, stick to one category. And a category, for example, is personal development. A category can be learning a skill. A category can be socializing or being social. A category can be something in your business.
But you mean like that's for the individual goals, of course, right?
Yeah.
So because you can have multiple categories in a year, right?
Exactly.
But that's once you finish off the previous one.
Yeah, but you can have one goal in one category.
Oh, like that. Oh, at the same time, you mean?
Yeah. And you can do several categories, but by preference, my dear listeners and viewers, do not set goals in one category, several goals in one category.
So it's like you're allowed to say, I want to win my match in basketball and a match in football, but you can say, I'm going to score in 5 goals at the same time.
Exactly.
Like we talked about earlier, to keep it in that metaphor.
Yeah, the reason why the brain is going to go into competition mode. So when you have several goals in one category, your brain is going to go into competition mode. They're going to it's going to be a competition about your attention.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, maybe this is too difficult. Yeah. I don't know, but this is how
we dwelled a little bit on the last subject. But the key of it is
how
just
the brain works.
The key of this is altogether is just focus. Make sure you focus on your goal. Don't finish your goals before you move on to the next one. Just hold on to that idea. Finish a goal before you move on to the next one. Make sure you do that. And in the end, we would love to know. Not in the end. You don't have to do it once you finish the goal. You can already do that. But we would love to hear how you guys would define your goals now that you've heard everything in the podcast. And obviously, we would love to hear at the end of the year again, but we'll talk about that in the podcast somewhere at the end of the year. We'll ask you. We'll keep you responsible for your own goals. We'll talk to you again, and we'll say hey, remember that first podcast of 2023? Remember that? Did you reach it? We're gonna ask.
Yeah, and we will put a small summary of the 4 steps.
Yeah.
Into
the show notes.
Into the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it there. So for everybody, that's going to be a little bit easier. But let us know. I would love to see the difference between how you first thought your goals would be, how you would now define your goals. Put them in the comments or send them to our email address, support@unlimitedpotentialprogram.com. We would love to read it, look at it. Feel free to also include if you would be okay with us talking about it, because it would also be fun to maybe next time maybe look at one or two, take them and look at and analyze them a little bit.
Yeah.
Would love that. So feel free to let that in the comments or in the email. We'd love to read it.
Please.
And then we really got to cut it off because we have already been talking for 54 minutes.
It was fun. It was fun to do because goals are so cool and can be so demotivating and can be so motivating.
Yeah.
So they have like the angel and the devil in one manifestation.
Yeah, it's a constant balance.
Yeah,
Definitely.
constant struggle, I think, maybe even. Okay.
For now, we again, we hope everybody had a nice New Year's Eve, and we wish you all a happy 2023. And like we always say,
Dare to dream.
Dare to dream.